I am here to tell you that you're not crazy if you're not making any progress despite working hard and trying your best. That's exactly how the system is built today. And I would know because I did play by the book. And I don't think the book is right. And the scarier part is, I don't think there is a book to play by anymore. Let me begin with my story. So, originally, I am from Eastern Europe. I moved to the UK in 2015, and all I had was 2,300 British pounds to my name. When I was back home, I lived with parents, I worked in a factory for 8 months, I saved pretty much all my salary, so that gives you an idea of how much people were getting paid back then in my country. I just finished school, I was one of the top students, and that was really the only job I could land, so that gives you an idea of opportunities that were available in my country. And so I applied to a university in England, got the position and moved. On my own, 19 years old, with barely any money. Of course, I had to find a part-time job, which I did almost immediately. I would study Monday to Friday, and then I would work Friday evening and Saturday, Sunday. It was tough, but it was doable. Working 2 weeks like that, I could cover my rent, and then the rest I could spend on transport, food, and then during holidays I would pick up more hours, so I was even able to save some money at times. And then every year things were getting better for me. I continued to be a top student at university, which then led to better opportunities. I started mentoring, my hourly rate went up, all the good stuff. I was basically living the American dream, if you like, where I came from nothing, worked hard, and every year my income would reflect that. And it kinda kept snowballing from there. I got bachelor's, got a PhD, landed a job, and in 2021 I was somewhere around top 10 to top 15% of earners in the country. And then from 2021 to 2025, my salary increased 40%, which is obviously very good when you compare it to the average of 20% of the same period. And looking back at these last 10 years, there are very few things I could have done better. And there are very few things that could have gone better. It all worked out very well, you could say. By all accounts, it's a classic Western success story, right? But that's where things get a little strange. Despite all of this, my life today isn't actually that much different from what it was like 7 years ago. Yes, my income is double, but I live in a similar flat that costs me 40% more. I eat the same food that costs me 60% more. Bills are more than double. I pay a ridiculous amount of tax, and the healthcare is worse, transport is worse, road quality is worse, literally every single service you can think of is worse and more expensive. And I still cannot afford a house. And looking at this as like, I checked every single box. I lived by the book as I was told. I sacrificed a decade of my life, arguably my best years, to what? To live the same life I had when I was a PhD student? At some point throughout this decade, grinding harder stopped being about getting ahead and started being about just keeping pace with the treadmill. And we all know exactly when that happened. It happened during the pandemic. Not going to be getting into all the economic details of how and why today, but it's just scary, dude. Like, what's next? You know, eventually the grind has to stop. There needs to be a point where you can take your foot off the gas pedal. But now we find ourselves in a world where the grind is necessary to simply keep the pace, and it's no wonder we have a mental health crisis, because this is simply not sustainable. There needs to be a carrot at the end. It can't just be all stick, stick, stick. Boomers had their carrot. Now we got sold the idea that if you just power through, at some point down the line in the future, it will work out. Now we are down the line in the future, there is no carrot. There is only more stick. And it gets even worse. If you think about my story, it's impossible to replicate it today. All the Brexit stuff aside, of course, there is just no way someone can work on a minimum wage 2-3 nights a week and sustain themselves. We've got people working full-time on a minimum wage, and even they can't do it. Math is just not mathing anymore. And forget about math, you can't even get a job as a student. You know, when I was younger, if you struggled financially, you could always go to your local McDonald's, Starbucks, retail store, nightclub. All of these places had plenty of part-time positions almost designed for high school and university students. Now you go there and you simply don't see any young people behind the counter. That's just not a thing anymore. And I don't mean 25 kind of young, I mean 18, 19 kind of young. And that's the real tragedy. The system doesn't work anymore. And yet you still have people telling you that it's possible, that it's your fault for not working hard enough, for not chasing your dreams or whatever. Bitch, there is nothing to chase. The dream is dead. The opportunities are not there. In the current day and age, hard work and success doesn't mean getting ahead, it means keeping afloat. And it sucks. I personally know plenty of hardworking, honest people on full-time positions who struggle to pay rent, which, call me crazy, is not a luxury, it's a basic necessity. And the scariest thing is, it's not gonna get any better. It all goes even further down from here. And although I do feel betrayed by the system, I don't want to come across as a victim. I still have it better than most, and I'm grateful for everything that I've been able to achieve, and I appreciate how lucky I was with opportunities and timing. And it's definitely possible to still have a good life in the West. But we do need to look at the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is fucked. You can't afford to be average and have a good life. That's just not a thing these days. And I feel like it's our responsibility as a society to be aware of it, to keep talking about it, to raise concerns, instead of telling younger people to just work harder. Because I worked hard my entire life, and let me tell you, if that's what you get at the end of it, it's not worth it. There is no carrot, it's just more stick. There is even more hard work, and there is even more stress at the end of the tunnel. And that's not the life I personally want to be living. We need to get back to a world where hard work actually translates into a better quality of life, where being a top 10% earner means you get top 10% experiences. My life right now is what I feel like an average income life should be. So please, let's keep talking about it, because if we don't, millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, whoever comes next, we're all gonna pay the price. And if you're not paying it right now, if you think you're safe because you've got your little business or whatever going on, it's not gonna last long. The system is getting worse exponentially and will eventually eat every single one of us. Unfortunately, I don't have any solutions for this. I'm just making this video as a mini rant, but the first step is to be aware and start talking. Because I feel like there are 3 generations that are losing their future, and not many people are talking about it actually. Yes, we all know there is a cost of living crisis and housing crisis and job crisis and blah blah blah, but that's not really the way to phrase it. We should all be saying loud and clear that playing by the book and following rules that were sold to us since the moment we were born and went to school doesn't mean shit. It's not any particular crisis, like the entire system is broken. Do with this information what you will. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.